The Seattle Seahawks shuffled the deck at wide receiver this offseason, moving on from DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in favor of a featured role for a rising star in Jaxon Smith-Njigba while adding an established veteran in Cooper Kupp. Journeyman veteran Marquez Valdes-Scantling was expected to also play a role as a deep threat on the outside for Seattle, but after the Seahawks released MVS on roster cut day, it appears that a day 3 rookie in Tory Horton will become one of Seattle's top pass-catching options. Horton was a 5th-round pick out of Colorado State, but after shining throughout the preseason and training camp, it looks like the Seahawks may have struck gold with the 22-year-old receiver. Let's dive into Horton's preseason film to get a better idea of how he'll be utilized for the Seahawks in today's episode of Best Available. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you are subscribed on YouTube, and you can also follow us on socials at BestAvailableYT. Normally we do a bit of a breakdown about the player before we dive into the film, but we've already talked about Horton on this channel somewhat recently in our video about who the next Puka Nacua might be as far as a breakout rookie. Horton was mentioned in that video. I'll make sure to link to it or have it show up on the screen as we're talking so that you can go back and take a look and learn a bit more about Horton, because it is a pretty impressive journey from having a season-ending knee injury last season in his final year with the Rams to shining in the pre-draft process to now shining in training camp. So really fun player. If you want to know more about him, check out that video, but why don't we go ahead and dive into his preseason film. With MVS being released, it's clear that the Seahawks want to utilize Horton as more of a deep threat or an outside guy, which makes total sense, right? Jaxon Smith-Njigba and Cooper Kupp are both guys that have thrived in the slot, but you need that guy that can stretch the field vertically on the outside. Horton brings that, but he also brings a bit more than just being a true, just deep threat. This is a good example of that. We have Horton at the top of the screen here, and you're going to see just some nice awareness of how to run a stick cut like this, and then some elusiveness after the catch. So what I'm talking about with that stick cut, you need to know in a zone coverage scheme when you need to hit that cut. So what you're seeing here, we have a flat drop with this corner, or this, sorry. So what we're seeing here, this linebacker's running to the flat, and what Horton wants to do is get right behind that guy and find that soft spot in the defense. Does a nice job of that. As soon as he passes, look, his head's already turning the second he's passing this linebacker who's dropping to the flat. Get stopped, and then I love this move right here. He is so explosive out of his breaks. Just, you know, it's an extra wet yard, but it's something that shows up on his tape time and time again, even in college, is as soon as he has the ball in his hands, or, you know, his ability to go from 0 to 100 immediately, that kind of like explosiveness after the catch can make him a really dangerous threat in space. A really fun play here. And again, it's a simple stick cut. I just really appreciate the timing on it to, you know, get right behind that linebacker dropping, stop right there. Because look, as soon as he's in that spot, we have these 3 defenders, but he has all this space around them. It's a really nice play, something really simple, but just a good play to get things started. Not entirely sure what's going on with this one. I'm wondering if it's the wrong route from either Horton or the receiver in the slot, but Locke has a clean pocket to throw this. I have a hard time believing it's a true that much of a missed throw. I know, like, you know, Lott's not a legit starting quarterback. He's more of a, you know, a solid backup, but I wonder if that's miscommunication, mostly because WR is just everyone going vertical. Is someone supposed to break out? Does he have a comeback if he's even? There are some vertical concepts where if you're unable to beat your defender, you cut back at a certain yard mark. Is this a back shoulder throw? I just thought this one was a little weird. I wanted to bring up, you know, sometimes in the evaluation process, we don't know things on the outside. And I think too many analysts want to pretend like they know everything. And this is why I like to bring up stuff like this. Like, hey, I'm not sure what this is, but something's wrong, whether it's a bad throw, a miscommunication, or just the wrong route by someone. So I wanted to bring that up. Just thought sometimes it's nice to learn some context of understanding what we don't know from the outside. Let's do some punt return work, okay? I'm super excited that Horton got some reps as a return guy, because that explosiveness and stop-start ability really shows up as a returner as well, something that showed up at Colorado State. I think he might get too cute at times, but I just love his ability to make a billion guys miss. He's just like a human joystick out there sometimes. I would kind of like right here, like I know this is not a good situation. especially in preseason, just take what you can get and just try and run through. But he's, a pretty rail thin receiver. Still just love how many guys he's making miss on this play to get, 5 yards on the return. Any amount of yardage is a big win in that situation. So just thought it was a really fun play. I mean, he's dirting 2 guys right out of the gate. Just both guys stumble on the ground. Horton really is really impressive at making guys miss with the ball in his hands. Going to show a couple reps where Horton's not getting the ball, but I just really like the crispness of his routes because that can make him a legit intermediate threat as well as a deep threat. And here what I like, we've got a bit of a dip of the shoulder to get an inside release here. And then his ability to decelerate and then not sacrifice any speed on this. You're watching that inside release. I just like his ability to decelerate at that 20 and, not sacrifice speed. Just everything he does in his operation as a route runner can be really smooth, combined with his explosiveness. That's what can make him such a legitimate deep intermediate threat. Because I think this is, an open throw for, a more confident quarterback. Because that dig, you have this throwing window right here, right? And if you throw with anticipation on that dig, Horton can hit that. That's really encouraging to see. If Darnold's comfortable hitting those, which I know he is, can make Horton also an effective weapon in the intermediate game. A 6'2", sub 200-pound receiver can get disrupted a bit, if they're not that physical. And I think this was a good, encouraging example of we got Horton at the bottom of the screen. Fighting through some contact, he does draw a pretty obvious DPI, but then go out and still, finish your route. And I also like that he's getting extended on this. Instead of waiting for the ball to come to him, he is reaching out with his hands to get extended on that, right there. Too many receivers, especially the guys you see with a lot of drop issues, don't feel as confident reaching out and getting that, especially after being disrupted like Horton was on this route. So I just thought this was a nice heads-up play from him. Shows some competitiveness to fight through that and make a heck of a catch. And that's a really nice gain and a first down on 3rd down too. I love the teammates' reactions as well on the sideline after he makes that catch because, that's a tough play. Really enjoy that. That's the kind of stuff you want to see from a potential wide receiver 3, especially from a guy as a day 3 rookie. Not my favorite one here is someone that's had to coach up wide receivers. Something I always like to emphasize is blocking. And right here, we just have a simple bubble screen with Horton at the top. And, he's reading who to block. I know it's an incomplete pass. The technique here is what concerns me because, he's not hearing the whistle when he's getting into this block. Trying to decide who to block, that's fine. Don't drop your eyes on a block. I like that he's trying to get low. You're not going to accomplish anything dropping your eyes. In fact, you're normally going to whiff. You have no clean base, especially when you're to the side. Like, he's not square up with the guy. He's looking down. You're not going to generate any kind of contain there. You're going to get pushed back. Don't love that technique as a blocker. And if you've been watching these episodes, I'm critical of the running backs in pass pro. If you're going to block on the boundary, you better be ready to block. He's a rookie. I'm not going to say this is a testament to his entire career. Just something I noticed in the preseason film, something that he can definitely clean up. I know everyone wants to watch the touchdown. There's really not much to it. Yeah, he's just a very slippery player once he gets the ball. Just a quick out route. Has leverage on this linebacker. I wonder if he almost knows that this DB is going to crash because as soon as he catches the ball, he's straight up field to avoid that tackle. Then just a little spin. It's very funny to me just how slippery he looks. Is it the best effort in the red zone from preseason guys? No, but makes me laugh that, maybe it is some instincts of knowing that DB's probably going to crash down, and if I don't cut up field, I'm going to get rocked. But still, just a very fun play and just another testament. Like, this is the kind of guy he is after the catch. Just one of these very elusive and slippery players. Only have a couple plays from the Chiefs I wanted to showcase, which is unfortunate. I believe he got hurt in this game and then did not play in the final preseason game. But all signs are that he should be ready for week 1, so that's good to see. But wanted to highlight a couple things from this game. Again, there's not much to see from this Chiefs game, but I at least wanted to show you what in full Horton's long speed can look like. I like the release against press. Just nice, sharp inside release. He avoids getting jammed by this other defender. And again, it's not a lot, but you can see the separation he's capable of creating. And on a long shot throw, he has that step where this can be an explosive play. The ball doesn't end up going his way, but again, I just thought it was important to show because we keep talking about it for a guy had a season-ending injury and then ran the 40, season-ending knee injury, and then still ran the 40 at the combine in February. And, had a really damn good time that, wanted to highlight, he can beat defenders, get a step on them. That's where that MVS role that, Seahawks fans might have thought MVS is going to be the deep threat for this team. He gets cut. It's clear the Seahawks believe that Horton possesses that long speed because there's not a lot of guys that can get up to this top speed and get a step. And that stem I really appreciate right here. If you're noticing, he's originally fading towards the middle of the field where the hash is with that head, and then just the ability to cut back to the corner. Little tiny subtle move, but something you want from a receiver. But yeah, he can get a step on a DB. Glad to see that. I guarantee you there's going to be at least, as long as he stays healthy, you'll see a handful of these big explosive plays where he goes deep this season. Thought this was a really fun play action concept with Horton at the top of the screen. We're going to have some pulling blockers, and if you know anything about linebacker play, a lot of linebackers will read their guards or the O-line to get their keys. And a play action like this where you have pullers is typically going to freeze those linebackers and have them thinking, all right, run is spilling that way. But instead of a run, we're going to have a play fake with it, and we're just going to have Horton down here in space. And I really like that concept because we've talked about, Horton's long speed, but something like this, you see the pullers, look at where all the linebackers' eyes are going, but then you have Horton, leaking across the formation. This linebacker who could potentially pick up, linebacker second level defender, could pick up, his eyes go to the tight end going deep, creates all of this cushion for Horton, who has all this space, stumbles, but he still picks up, significant yards after contact. I think this is a really fun concept. I want to see more of this kind of stuff from the Seahawks this year. I'm just a huge fan of this concept. I just think it's so smart. Again, you got all these pullers, all of this eye candy. We've got this leaking out tight end that causes this guy to, react. It's just a really well drawn up play. Probably not something you want to give up in the preseason, but again, I get it. It's just a simple play action rollout with a flat route. I just really enjoyed the concept and wanted to share it with you guys as an example of another way, besides just being so many guys to get, pigeonholed as deep threats, like don't think there's anything you can do besides run go routes. Like this is a fun way of utilizing Horton's speed in space horizontally instead of vertically. I wish there was more preseason film on Horton because the small samples we've gotten have been really fun of the kid. I'm really excited to see him. What do you think about what his potential role is going to be in Seattle? Let us know in the comments. We'll be back in a couple days talking about Lenora Sellers, the South Carolina quarterback who, if you know me, I was an Anthony Richardson guy. I love all these toolsy quarterbacks, and man, does he fit that bill. I'm excited to go over some of his film on Friday, so make sure to check that video out. Again, subscribe to the channel, follow us on socials, and we'll see you on Friday. Thank you for watching. Best available.